Hello, law students and legal practitioners. Today, we will analyze the case of Javier versus COMELEC, GR number 215847, decided by the Supreme Court on January 2, 2016. Let's begin. Here are the legal doctrines of the case. A candidate cannot be disqualified on the basis of a repealed penal provision. When a law is expressly repealed, it is completely erased from the statute books and cannot be revived or applied, whether directly or indirectly. The Commission on Elections, COMELEC, has no authority to impose administrative disqualification using a repealed election offense, even if the conduct alleged may appear wrongful or abusive. Section 261, d. 1 and 2 of the Omnibus Election Code, which penalized coercion of subordinates, was expressly repealed by Republic Act No. 7890. Consequently, coercion of subordinates ceased to be an election offense, and any reliance on it, whether under Section 261 or indirectly through Section 68 of the Omnibus Election Code, is legally untenable. Section 68 disqualifies candidates only for violations of election offenses that are still in force. COMELEC acts with grave abuse of discretion when it applies a law that no longer exists, or when it ignores an express legislative repeal. Administrative agencies are bound by the principle of legality and must apply the law as it stands, not as they believe it should be. Here are the relevant facts of the case. In the May 13, 2013 elections, Ezequiel B. Javier ran for and won as governor of Antique. Prior to the elections, an administrative complaint for grave misconduct and abuse of authority was filed against Mayor Mary Joyce Requero of Valderrama, Antique, who was politically opposed to Governor Javier. Acting on the recommendation of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Governor Javier issued Executive Order No. 003, Series of 2013, placing Mayor Requero under preventive suspension. Mayor Requero and her father, Raimundo T. Requero, together with Cornelio P. Alden, subsequently filed a petition for disqualification against Governor Javier before the COMELEC, alleging that the preventive suspension constituted coercion of subordinates and threats and intimidation under Section 261, d. and e. of the Omnibus Election Code, supposedly committed during the election period. Acting on this petition, the COMELEC en banc disqualified Governor Javier and annulled his proclamation, reasoning that although Section 261, d. had been repealed by RA No. 7890, coercion of subordinates could still serve as a basis for disqualification under Section 68 of the Omnibus Election Code. Javier then filed a petition for certiorari before the Supreme Court, asserting grave abuse of discretion. Issue 1. Whether COMELEC may disqualify a candidate for coercion of subordinates despite the repeal of Section 261, d. of the Omnibus Election Code. No, COMELEC cannot disqualify a candidate based on a repealed election offense. Republic Act No. 7890 expressly repealed Section 261, d. 1 and 2 of the Omnibus Election Code. An express repeal completely removes the provision from the law, producing the same effect as if it had never existed. Section 68 of the Omnibus Election Code authorizes disqualification only for violations of existing election laws, not repealed provisions. COMELEC's attempt to apply Section 68 independently of Section 261, d. was legally flawed. Since coercion of subordinates was no longer an election offense, there was no valid legal basis for disqualification. COMELEC cannot revive a repealed law by simply labeling the act as administrative, rather than criminal. Issue 2. Whether the preventive suspension of Mayor Requero constituted an election offense. No, the act did not constitute an election offense. After the repeal of Section 261, d. coercion of subordinates in relation to elections ceased to be an election offense. Any alleged abuse of authority must be addressed under administrative or other penal laws, not election law. Governor Javier's issuance of a preventive suspension, even if contested, was an act done pursuant to administrative powers and cannot be treated as election coercion in the absence of a valid penal provision defining it as such. Issue 3. Whether COMELEC committed grave abuse of discretion. Yes, COMELEC committed grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. Grave abuse of discretion exists when a tribunal acts in a capricious, whimsical, or despotic manner by disregarding the law or established jurisprudence. Applying a repealed law constitutes a clear violation of this standard. By grounding its disqualification ruling on Section 261, d. Despite its express repeal, COMELEC acted contrary to law and deprived Javier of a lawful electoral mandate. This error was not a mere misjudgment but a jurisdictional defect. Thank you for listening and happy learning. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Legal Shepherd PH YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay updated on newly uploaded cases and jurisprudence. See you again for our next case discussions.